Hey guys, and welcome back to Fashion Upcycled, where we challenge the usual perception of fashion and explore how unconventional materials can be transformed into wearable garments. And yeah, it's been a roller coaster ride so far. Week 1 to week 9. Here we are, the last week, the grand finale, week 10. We said it was going to come, and here we are, week 10 it is. What do you think?
Well, I feel like it's been very exciting. We've talked about trash bags, we talked about coins, we talked about tissue, we talked about paper, we've talked about old currency in general, we've talked
Yeah,
about different things, we
yeah.
talked about even glass, and we talked about how even the food that can be used in fashion.
Food, yeah. It's
So,
been a wonderful time so far, yeah. And we know that you enjoyed the topics we've had to present to you, the ideas, the concepts, the deliberations, the debates, everything, what people have viewed so far on this show. We know that you've enjoyed it so far. Yeah, it's been a wonderful, beautiful time from the first to the fifth, and now the last episode here. Once again, we want to thank our sponsors, M778,
and
for
also style house files.
yeah. Wonderful. Now, today's topic is the last topic, and for me, yeah, it should be probably the most interesting. Yeah,
And we know you're going to have fun with it today.
yeah. Today's topic is sponges into sculptural dresses. Yeah, sponges into sculptural dresses. Yeah, we know you weren't expecting to hear that at all. Yeah, sponges into sculptural dresses, and this is one that sparks wide interest and attention. So let's get right into it, starting with the history of this concept.
Well, now, okay. Now, when you first think about sponges, I'm sure you're thinking about how something like this, something I usually use in having my bath, how can it be used in fashion? And why would it even be used in fashion? Well, we're not the type of people who are going to think that if you've been watching the show all the way from the beginning, you know that we're not the type of people who think that. So, when you determine the idea, it just represents a massive shift from normal day materials to
Yeah,
state of the art pieces.
yeah. That's true. But even before they were converted to state of the art, avant-garde art here and there, and the likes, they were used for thousands of years, dating back as far as 1900 to 1750 BC, and that's a very long time for real. This was practiced in the Crete Minoan culture here, although they had other functions apart from art and fashion. But by the 1930s to 70s, the sponge influence kicked in. The icon Madame Grey most times is credited for setting the stage for other designers to innovate and to turn around this concept. So, yes, as a result of what she did in the 2000s, we see that designer Shannon Slonina created a sculptural dress which became unique for its clean and spot on production. What do you think about that?
I feel like the very idea of what she made literally in is just like we talked about before. Some designers may take the very concept of what they make out of the materials, and since we're talking about sponges, it's only right to think that she was trying to represent cleanliness in her designs.
Yeah, yeah. And in 2019, this idea had now become a renowned and developed concept being put into runway shows here and there. What do you think about its development in 2019?
Well, now that I feel like the idea when we were first thinking about presenting this idea, I thought that it was going to be very just like going to be hard for some people to accept, harder than most of our topics. But hey, we're doing it now, and I feel like it's something that people should actually put out there by themselves, even if it's just by themselves. I feel like they should still do it.
Yeah, yeah. Today it's striving generously and gaining enough momentum, enough name, enough light as celebrities begin to patronize it and gain attraction here from all around the world. And then, so right now, we'll be back after the break and then we'll give you more insight and more grounds to cover concerning this topic. Stay tuned, guys.
We'll be right back, so don't go anywhere.
Has always been a place where subcultures could thrive. And going with what's happening today, I suppose the parallel would be what happened in the 60s. The world had been, for years, it had been in turmoil and trouble. And the economies were bad.
So, guys, we are back on Fashion Upcycled, and here we'll be talking about techniques for transforming sponges into dresses. Yeah, we talked about a brief history. Yeah, wonderful, wonderful time. So, now we'll be talking about techniques for transforming sponges into dresses. Before we move into the techniques, what do you think about this particular subtopic? What's your idea?
Well, my idea is that when it comes to transforming sponges into dresses, I feel like it would actually take a lot of hard work and effort because we all know exactly how there are different kinds of sponges in this world, different materials they're made from. So it'll possibly some might be easier, some might be harder. It just matters on your perspective on the matter. But I feel like whatever sponge you use, you're going to have to work hard to turn it into a dress.
Yeah. So on this, firstly, the first technique we have is a squeaky clean sponge dress, which was designed by artist Kate Cusack, and this was multicolored. And funny enough, it was made entirely of sponges, and it entered a trend. What do you think about that?
Well, when you're talking about something that was made for kids, of course it will be trendy. I mean, when you're talking about young minds, they're very innovative, they're very imaginative. So I feel like they would be very open to this idea. I mean, we're talking about kids here. If you present something to them, it's probably going to stick with them for a while.
So you think that if we were to present this thing to the older generation, it won't stick with them? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, I would say that if you're going to accept an idea like this, you're going to have a very broad view of what fashion is. If some people are going to stick to usual trends and usual concepts of fashion, then they may have a harder time trying to accept all this.
Mm, mm, mm. So another example here that we have is that of Robin Barkos Slonia, who made a kitchen sponge gown. Yes, who made kitchen sponge gowns, made entirely of sponges, and purchased this from a store, the dollar store. So what do you think about that?
Well, getting a material from a dollar store, maybe from the corner, I feel like that's probably like I'm not sure how to say it in a way that I'll try to understand, but I'll say it in the way I think. That's I feel like when you're trying to just get something like that from a dollar store, I feel like you're just working with what you have. I mean, these are materials that we're now using for fashion, but hey, you have to get them from somewhere.
Yeah, yeah. So we also have DIY techniques. Take for instance a sponge and chamois dress, which can you can achieve this by sewing together sponges from to form a skirt, and then for the top you just add a chamois to it, and then it is as simple as that. It's a hand stitch something to your and then stitch to your color and to your flavor. What do you think about that?
I feel like this is where you can really let your creativity shine. Like you said, you're turning it into different things, a skirt, whatever. I feel like this is where designers can have a chance to really show their own innovative ideas, their own experience, whatever they want to put into it. If you can make it into what you want, why don't you?
Mm, mm, mm. Yes, wonderful, 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 wonderful take on that. So right now we'll be moving over to the people who have won this piece of art. Before we go further, how do you think this piece of art will look on people who have won it?
Well, when I think about it, I think that it will look very funny. I mean, we're talking about sponges there. I figure it will look funny, but when I think about some other sponges that I've used in my life, I feel like it would actually look kind of like eccentric in a way. Like you're trying to make a piece of art on someone's body. I feel like it would just be something that would stare out for a very, very long time.
So you are saying that you won't necessarily rate this trend or this type of fashion.
Well, not on the usual basis that we would rate it on. I feel like I would rate it on very small things like how it was stitched together or the color coding, not necessarily the material that was made from.
Mm, mm, mm. So moving over to notable people who have won this, we have Eva Mendes, who wore a sponge dress in the year 2023, and then she made it, and then oh no, and then she made it a post on Instagram, yeah, and it was a colorful dress, a colorful sponge dress, and this was more of a playful gimmick, and as she teased at the Met Gala and the Oscar in her caption. What do you think about that?
Well, like you said, it was just like a playful gimmick. I feel like she was just trying to have fun with what she had, But still, the fact that she was willing to try something like this and then present it at an Oscar, like, wow, this is somebody who really wants to make strides in what she's doing, taking something that most people would rarely see on a runway and just saying, hey, let me put it out there. I really like the idea of what she did.
Mm. So, from 1 to 10, how would you rate what she did, and why would you rate what she did?
Well, I'll give it I'll rate it in different criterias. On
Mm.
the term of innovation, I would rate it a 10 out of 10. In a term of
Why would you rate it a 10 of 10?
because we're talking about sponges here, something that were used for cleaning, not for designing, and yet she was willing to do it. And like I said, presented at an Oscar. This, like I said, she was making strides.
No, she didn't. She didn't present at an Oscar. She hinted at. She teased Oscar in her caption.
Okay.
And just like I bring out a question, I'm like, oh, imagine I create this for an Oscar or the Met Gala, you get. So she just teased at the Oscars and the Met Gala, you get. So on the basis of innovation, you rate her 10 over 10. So
Yeah.
what other criteria would you use to rate her?
Well, if I was rating her not just on innovation, but I would actually have to see it myself. But whatever, we're talking about sponges here. So in terms of material, I would also rate her like an 8 out of 10.
Why would you rate her 8 out of 10?
Because when I'm thinking about sponges and how they're made, I feel like when you're trying to make them into a clothing material, sure they're stretchy, sure they're flexible, and sure they're not easy to break just by adding a little tension. So I feel like they would actually be good materials, but the reason I would take 2 marks away from it is because they're very absorbent, and when you're talking about walking out in them all around in the environment where there's different things, there's dirt, there's sand, it could rain. It's not exactly a material that people would be fond of using.
Mm, mm, Yeah, that's wonderful. So we have Katy Perry, who wore a dress that had the sponge inspo made by the Coperni brand at the American Idol in 2024. What do you have to say about that?
Mm, I wonder what she was thinking. I wonder what they were thinking when they talked about this. Like, mm, like how would you say this again?
How will I say it again?
Yeah, like when you said it just now, how would you put it in a different way?
Well, she wore a sponge inspired dress made by a brand called Coperni at the American Idol.
Like it was sponge inspired. It wasn't
Yeah,
necessarily made from a sponge.
not necessarily made of a sponge, but it was inspired by
Well,
that.
I feel like she's trying to push out the message, but not necessarily trying to make a statement.
So are you saying that she's the one pushing out the statement? Oh, sorry. Are you saying that she's pushing out the idea, or is the brand that is pushing out the idea?
I would say that she's trying to create awareness for the brand.
Mm, 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 mm. Yeah, fair point. Although it wasn't made of such, like we said, it wasn't made of sponge, but it was just likened to that, just like Kim Kardashian's dress was likened to that of a tissue and paper. Yeah. So yeah, other people who were models, and these were dresses crafted by Kate Cusack and Robin Barkos, as mentioned earlier, and it's been wonderful. You're taking case studies from these people. In maybe not just one word, 1 or 2 words. What would you say, and or how do you describe these people that have done this?
Well, some who used it as playful gimmicks, some who used it to push out awareness, or some who did it as a way of just showing their own innovative idea. If I put it all in one word, I would just give it one word: respect.
Mm, 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 mm. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, guys, we'll be back right after the break to give it a beautiful spice up. And yeah, a beautiful spice up. Stay tuned, guys.
Has always been a place where subcultures could thrive. And going with what's happening today, I suppose the parallel would be what happened in the 60s. The world had been, for years, it had been in turmoil and trouble, and the economies were bad.
All right, guys, we're back, and now
Yes.
we're going to be looking at the different critiques, good or bad, that this idea has received over the years. So let's get into it. This concept has received very more negative than positive over the years. Like, take for instance, Manda's outfits can fit for a red carpet or formal dress because of the type of outfit in which it is. It's playful gimmick and not something that's durable for proper setting.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
oh, like, do you agree?
Yeah, I would agree because I just feel like, okay, she just did it for just the fun of it, and she probably was in her home and she just teased at it and saying, oh yeah, this is this is Met Gala or Oscars. So I wouldn't necessarily say, okay, oh, her idea is something that I would recommend for a proper setting. So you're actually right. Yeah, you're actually right. So yeah, this isn't really something that would be formal for a red carpet dress, and yeah. So what else?
Well, I feel like another thing that critiques have been saying about this is poor hygiene about the very idea.
Mm,
Since we're talking about sponges here, we're talking about these things are usually used for cleaning. Whatever you're using to clean it for your body, you're using it to clean your home or whatever. These materials are used for cleaning, and the very idea of hygiene, when people are thinking of what they're wearing, I'm sure they're thinking about their hygiene as well.
mm, mm. Yeah, you're right. You're right. You're right. Hygiene matters the most. But me personally, I feel that it's really treated just like other materials you talk about have been treated before usage. I feel it's treated before usage. So hygiene shouldn't really be a problem. But still, it requires a lot of hygiene maintenance in order to keep them solid and in quality state. And because of the things it absorbs and the dirt, it makes it hard to wash. So with time, it might get dirty, and with time, it will get hard to maintain. Why? Because of, like I said, the dirt and the debris and all the stuff that it absorbed on the surface. So to make it hard to wash and hard to maintain with time. So in order to maintain it, it requires a lot to maintain. So yeah. So here we see a runway that took place, which was Monet X Changes Sponge Runway. Yeah, Monet X Changes Sponge Runway. This idea was praised for its its creativity. Yeah, it was praised for its creativity, but also raised as whimsical and also wasn't fit to be called hood culture. So what do you think about that?
Well, we are saying that it was an idea that was praised for its creativity, but it was also very whimsical, right?
Mm.
Well, when you're saying whimsical and creativity, you're usually thinking about, the mind of a child. But we're not talking about a child here. We're talking about somebody who went out and actually tried this for themselves. And I feel like if they're, and I feel like they're trying to embrace their inner child on this. I really like that. I really like that about them.
You're right, you're right. So another issue here is its limited glamour and awkward shapes, and unfortunately, failure to pass the elegance test. Do you think it was able to pass the elegance test?
Well, no, we're talking about sponges here. No matter what form they're in, it's not exactly something you design for elegance. We're talking about cleaning materials here, and cleaning materials aren't designed for elegance.
Mm, mm. So yeah, these dresses are often described as cartoonish, and because of that, it limits its level of appeal to the audience. Do you think that they actually should be described as such?
Well, it's true that they're not designed for appeal, but then again, all the materials we've talked about aren't designed for appeal. These are We're talking about using such materials in fashion. You need to look past appeal and look, like we said before, you need to look at the message behind it as well.
Mm, mm, mm. But regardless, it has gained a stand in the industry, and people who have paved way for it won't be forgotten at all. Do you think they will be forgotten?
Nope.
No.
These are people who have tried something unconventional. These are people who have actually
Mm,
gone out and actually taken these materials most people wouldn't have even thought about and then just decided to put it in a way that you could wear it. These people will not be forgotten. At least I don't
yeah,
think they should.
yeah. Well. We finally come to that moment we've all been waiting for, guys. It's finally time. So, how would you say this program has been for you, recapping it from the beginning till now?
Well, when we began and when we talked about trash bags, I was like, I was just thinking about, will these people really take us seriously when we're talking about this stuff? I mean, we're talking about waste here. Most stuff we're talking about is what people would see as waste, and if they're not seeing it as waste, they're just seeing it as something that will eventually become waste. And I just thought that if people are willing to listen to us, then I'm willing to give this a full go. And I just thought that if we take this shot and if you can even inspire, even if we don't inspire that many people to look at this in such a way, I'll still be happy doing this, even if we can just inspire a small few. And you?
Well, this has actually been also an awesome, an amazing time. Week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here we are. Here we are. Here we are. It's been amazing. It's been a wonderful run. Been a wonderful run thus far. Yeah. I mean, want to appreciate you all for the support and the help we've received so far, for the instant consent comments, for always buzzing the show, always staying tuned, always keeping in touch, always being our number one fans and supporters. We are really, 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 really grateful. Yeah, we are. Are we?
Yeah.
Really?
We are grateful.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to us.
Yeah, and for the sponsors, M778 and Style House Files. Yeah, we really appreciate them. Yeah, do you have anything to say for them?
Yeah. Thanks for giving us a chance to present this work. I'm sure when we gave it to you, you were very skeptical about it. So thank you for giving us a chance when so many people overlooked us.
Yeah, it's our most wonderful pleasure to have been here with you guys on this show. Thank you, and we hope to work with you again in the future. I'm sure you do too.
Yeah, I'd like to work with you guys again.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful time, been an amazing time with you, Shay, my co-host. Yeah, wonderful time.
It's been amazing with you too, Joshua.
Yeah.
Thanks for leading us so well.
Yeah, wonderful time. Bye, fams. We love to see you again. Bye.
See ya.